finding my mouse for over here. Oh, I can't reach. Shit.
Blue Collar Politics, press 9 for the truth.
Oh, stay silent, stay quiet, stay silent, stay quiet. Good evening, this is Thomas Fry, this is Blue Collar Politics. I am the biblical survivalist, and we are rocking tonight. So, I gotta play one more intro. I love this one. Welcome you tonight to another edition of the Blue Collar Politics Radio Show. Where the truth is told, reality is talked about, and no subject is off the table. I am Thomas Fry, and I will be your guide tonight as we search for the truth in the world today, where once the unbelievable is now true and the government can't seem to tell the truth. Oh man, this is bullshit. It won't come up on Blue Collar Politics. Can you send it over to BCP, the Facebook page? It won't let me. With updates on previous shows and whatever is bothering you tonight, and to go with wide open eyes down the rabbit hole just to see how far it goes. Are you ready to see what we can get into tonight? Ready to start the show? Whoa! If I got a show for you tonight, I just had to play that. First of all, we have Jennifer Malik on tonight, solo, her for the entire show. Man, have we got a lot of questions we want to ask. We'll get into that there shortly, but I got to tell y'all something, man. We can't talk about the riots tonight. Yeah. Facebook has, and YouTube both are on silencing people that speak the truth. So that's all I can say. So if you want to hear the truth about the riots, you'll have to listen tomorrow at 6 p.m. on the Butcher Shop on Global Enlightenment Radio Network, and we will enlighten you to the truth of what's going on. So check it out there. So we'll get back to what we do best. And I must say, this is my new guitar, but I got the original Yamaha back that I played the BCP intro. That's right. This intro. Oh yeah, baby, I got that guitar back. I thought I lost it, man. We were went down there for an odd reason to go into this pawn shop, and it was the one I lost it at last year. times get tough for everybody, and times got tough, and I hated to do it, but I'd already had the intro that I'd worked on so hard, and it was perfect. And I'm still playing it. I made it 3 years ago, and I think it's the most awesome intro of every show, especially Blue Collar Politics here on GERN. And I love it. I love my guitars. So my fingers and hands are a little messed up right now, but I can't play. I have to learn how to play with the loss of the two fingers. Them digits don't move, so they keep interfering with my chords. So I got to figure out how I'm gonna play with 3 fingers instead of 5. But you can count on your biblical survivalist. I will be playing my guitars again. And I'll get my keyboards fixed. I am just not having a good time with instruments, man. Let me tell you. It's been a long damn road. But I've got the studio just about where I want it. So now it's time to work and get this stupid thing out of my face so that way y'all can see me. I got my Zippo back, which I don't know where it's at right now. I set it down somewhere. I got my Zippo back. I got my guitar back. I'm a happy man. Don't take much to make me happy. As long as I can do my show, do Blue Collar Politics, and do Friday news. I missed last Friday, sorry, but we had a lot going on. I didn't get a chance to do it, but I will be there Friday at 5 o'clock. It's only a news hour, so I'm going to have to just read titles only, because holy crap, the amount of news. You almost need a 24-hour-a-day news channel to really inform people what's going on, because the bullshit that is being spewed at us at a phenomenal rate is... You'll hear it tomorrow night on the Butcher Shop. So tune in, because there, we don't give a shit if we get cut off. We'll just find somewhere else to pop back up on, and we'll let y'all know where we're at, and then you can find us. So, I think you will enjoy it. So definitely be there. Mark it on your schedule. I might even play a little riff. But tonight's show, I wanted to talk about something else that happened that's more, if not equal, at least more serious. And all the news that I've watched, I haven't, not one peep. 5 days ago in Sanford, mid-Michigan, their dam broke. And it broke on May 25th. And he went out and filmed the next day. You want to go to Jordan Mowbray. That's JORDANMOWBRAY. Check out that YouTube video there. He takes his drone and goes over the whole lake where it used to be. And for a small town like that to lose their dam, there's no way they can afford to repair that. And it broke the berm from heavy rains, and it washed away the town. And there was this little Pontiac Fiero museum that just got wiped out. All the cars destroyed. And hell, I own 4 of them. I love the Pontiac Fiero, man. It was like a street legal go-kart, man. That thing would haul ass. It won almost every race it ever went into on the road course. It really established Pontiac as a street racer, circuit track racer. And anybody who ever followed IMSA or anybody who ever followed road course racing, you know what the Pontiac Fiero did for that class. Um, it was awesome. And the museum up in Michigan is gone forever. I mean, they may be able to save the cars, they may be able to get them running again. Who knows? There might be enough parts, but they had $1 million worth of Fieros there. That's a lot. I mean, there's still some sitting in the back flipped over on their lid. It wiped out the whole town. It wiped out their park, wiped out their recreation area, and it wiped out their electric supply. Because the dam was a working hydro plant. So, throw them some love if you can. Throw them some money. They got a place to donate. I'm gonna bring it up and I'm gonna throw it in the chat room. They got a group which is about, and it's got you can join the group. You can find out about crap, it's over on that one. I'll figure out how to do it later on in the show, or I'll put it in the credits at the end of the video. But we have a very special guest, and I want to bring her in, and so we can get to talking. You there?
I am here.
All right. Hold on one second. I got to throw this introduction for you. You definitely have earned it. My guest tonight, Jennifer Malik, is the lead psychic and resident demonologist for the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society. She is also Wisconsin's representative for the Praesidium Warriors of St. Michael. She is a contributing writer for the Supernatural magazine and one of the hosts of the paranormal radio show Paraversal Universe. Her and her late husband, Kevin Malik, run the North Woods Paranormal Resource Center in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. Born in New Jersey, she comes from a family line of gifted women with psychic abilities and has been involved with the supernatural her whole life. She has helped out other paranormal teams in the past with her abilities, does private consultations as well as for individuals. She is versed in metaphysics and theology and specializes in malevolent hauntings. Did I just lose you? Okay. She has made numerous appearances on different networks and interviewed on such paranormal shows as Coast to Coast and Demonology Today. Paranormalities, Ponderings, Paranormal Soup, Bobby Brown, Bale and Beyond, Darkness Radio, Pang Radio, and many others. Add the other two magazines I write for and talk about being for RVA for Project PSI Institute. And let me get her back on the phone because for some dumb reason it is not. Alright, so we'll try calling her this time and see if it sticks. So Jennifer, if you're listening, I'm trying to call you. Man, we did a test run. This worked perfect before the show. All right, it's ringing.
Hello?
We got you.
Okay, I'm glad.
We
when
tested
I start calling and I start running into problems.
We tested this system. I knew it works. So, I introduced you. So, you have a long list of accomplishments.
Well, thank you.
And you have a couple favorites that I really like. And you have found many kids.
Yes.
So why don't you give us the lowdown on exactly how you have managed to help you've helped several different agencies, right?
Well, with the missing kids, it's this thing strictly through Project PSI Institute.
Okay.
And they are based in Chicago.
And then, so they're the ones that go out and deal with if a law enforcement agency or someone would call them.
Yes. What it is a team of me and 4 other remote viewers. 2 of us, or 3 of us, I'm sorry, are psychic mediums, and the other 2 are forensic. And so what we do is we get case information about the person where person's missing. We get an image and we get a Google map coordinates. We don't talk to each other when we work on these cases because Dr. Kennedy, or Doc as we affectionately call him, does not want us talking because he doesn't want us to taint the cases if we come up with the same information. So he has in line something called the computer matrix, where we will call him one by one. We all have handles. We all have code names. We don't use our real names. And he will take the information from all of us, put the information under each name, and he will then run it through the matrix and find the commonalities between all of what we came up with. Now, we do this through a technique called remote viewing. And so we're not physically involved with the cases. Like, we're not physically there on the grounds or where these people have gone missing looking for them.
Right.
And so what happens is when Doc gets all this information into the computer matrix, he will then contact law enforcement and he will help them locate the children and the adults that we've brought home, whether they have been alive or deceased. And to date, we have brought home 126 missing people, children included in this mix. We have solved using remote view technique that we do. Excuse me. We have solved 10 cold case murders. We have brought home 4 to 6 silver alerts, and those for who are not familiar with silver alerts, those are for the older people that have the Alzheimer's or dementia.
Right.
And so with all of that, we've been able to save them, whether they've been kidnapped or whether they're in the process of being trafficked. And all the stuff that we do, we stay completely under the radar because there is a price with that, because the people that we're bringing home, these people can't exploit in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Yeah, that would make you a target from the exploiters. We would be walking targets. And so we're spread out across the United States and Canada. Wow, that's amazing.
The work that we do for this is nonprofit. We don't charge. If you ever come across somebody that says that they help law enforcement and they're boots on the ground and they charge you money, they're not the real deal.
Oh, there's lots of those.
Or they just want to make the money.
Yeah, but they don't have your results.
No, they don't. They don't.
I only know of one person that works directly with the police. She's out in California. And I think she only has 3 or 4 successes. But she gets paid directly.
Yeah, see, we don't, because this is charity. We don't, families don't need to be paying us to help them get closure and to bring their loved ones home, whether they are alive or deceased.
Yeah, I would think that, if I lost, heaven forbid, I'd ever lose one of my 4 kids, I would want to know. I mean, you couldn't go through life not knowing just the disappearance and to never know. Right.
See, with us, we're able to, no matter what the results are, bring them answers and bring them closure. And that's what we're about, and we love doing what we do.
and therefore you don't charge, which to you in my book that makes you a cool person because um, I just happen I'm a digital forensic expert, and I know the amount of work that goes into that type of thing. Um, Now I do it. That's what I do for a living. So what I do is not even compared to yours. It just happens to be, I put people in jail. You find people closure.
Yeah, you do. And then another thing that we found that we use too, that each of us has gotten when we join, we get a certificate, with our names on it, and it's really awesome and really amazing. And we get facial recognition software because that helps us out in cases too.
Wow. So there's a wall somewhere with 126.
Well, I wouldn't say there's a wall. I mean, Doc keeps them on file. But there's.
Like any good hero, you shove them in a drawer.
Well, that's what he does. He's got it on file. He's got them saved. So none of the cases that we worked have been public. I mean, you may have seen some on the news on the recent last couple of years that we worked. But, and then that's another thing. When we work these cases, we're not allowed to watch TV. We're not allowed to watch the media. We can't look for alerts. We can't look for reports on the news.
Well, that's understandable. You don't want to fuddle up your mind with something that you see on TV because then that could throw you off on what you're thinking.
Right. Well, it's like here. I'll give you a good example. You ever see those missing person flyers that are all over Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things, and a lot of people don't think about this. They're quick to see these flyers of these missing children or missing women, and they'll post them, not thinking. The problem with that is you need to track those flyers back as far back as you can go. If you're able to track a flyer of a missing kid back to where it first originated, and it's not coming from law enforcement officials, then it's one of those rare instances where it's a person that maybe was very abusive to their wife and she left. And so he's looking for her. Or the same thing with kids.
Okay.
So this is why I tell people I don't post missing flyers unless I do back and I do research to see where they originated from. Because if you don't find law enforcement connections to them, once again, you have to look at the person that posted it. What are their intents? Are they going after their wife because they're pissed off that she left?
Right. I've worked with a team of relocation experts that do it in the middle of the night for abusive women. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Not abusive, abused women. And
yeah.
I drive a truck, and we go in there late in the night with the sheriffs in unmarked vehicles. They grab a couple of suitcases for each person, and then we drive to an undisclosed location, change vehicles, put them in another vehicle with another person that we don't know, that the sheriffs don't know, that's met by another sheriff, and they oversee the transfer to, and that happens several times to make sure that they can't be traced. So yeah, you get a angry husband that, especially if something like this happens, which it's expensive to do this. Now I had the truck, so I volunteered my fuel and my time in doing it. We take the plates off it, and there's can't be nothing designated on, it can't be nothing distinguishing on the truck, no custom rims, nothing like that. And you hand the person.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't want to search for someone like that because that would be putting her back in harm's way.
Yeah, and especially if you're dealing with females that have been trafficked and they run away from their traffickers. That's another way for them to get these girls back. They'll create flyers and post them out there.
Okay. Okay. So I understand the reason for that. That would be really important to know where the flyer would originate from to tell you whether or not it's real or not. So if you
Yeah.
just don't even use any of that stuff and just you only do it for law enforcement, then you're pretty well safe.
Yeah. It's like, okay, another thing I tell people, if you really want to know, if you're in a county or a town or a city where there's a flyer posted, call local law enforcement on the phone and ask them to mention the flyer, and they will flat out tell you whether they posted that flyer or not.
Well, it seems that would be smart because you wouldn't want to help for the wrong reason. A good intention will not aid the person if you're putting them back into a situation.
Right. And I totally get that. But I only mention the flyers because if they have missing people that's reported, they generally like to put out the flyers. If you have somebody looking for somebody, they'll put out the flyers themselves. That's what I'm getting at.
Right.
I mean, people don't have to call. If you don't want to call local law, then don't. But do research either way and double check before you assume that what you have is a real missing person or something completely the opposite. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. And what would you say the main I don't know if you keep statistics, but what's the one thing they've used you for the most? Can you answer that?
Wait, I'm sorry, what was that?
What have you done the most? Of all the things you've said, whether it be a silver alert, whether it be an amber alert, whether it be
Bringing home missing kids. We've brought home more missing kids than any of the other stuff that I described.
wow, that's got to be a good feeling.
It's a wonderful feeling. It's such an amazing feeling when you know that you have the kind of abilities that you can put it towards the greater good and helping. And I see that as doing God's work.
So okay. Sorry, I had to bring the volume down a little bit. I put my headset on and it was kind of a little loud. Now I forgot my question. Good one there, Tom. So you bring back all these kids, you do all this individually, and for no recognition, volunteer of time. How do you have any examples examples of situations that you are allowed to talk about?
Okay, I'll give you one that I could talk about. And this was, excuse me for a second. Excuse me. This was around the time I joined. There was we were tracking 14 to 15 girls that were underage. They were in the process of being trafficked. We were all able to go to that whole process that I described to you and how it works. And we all got like a red barn on the edge of town. Okay, well that doesn't really say anything. That's random. How many red bars are there on the edge of town, right? We were describing other physical markers around that stuck out. And because we did that,
I gotta play one more intro. I love
on the edge of town. Local law enforcement or the feds, or both, if I can remember correctly, because it's been a number of years since this one particular case. They busted in that barn, and at the back of the barn, there were literally 14 to 16 girls shackled together at the ankles, waiting to be trafficked.
Oh my God. It's horrible. So, in looking for one girl, you found them all. That's cool. We
I
need.
mean, we've done cases that you've seen on that have made national news coverage, but again, even though the cases are closed, we still don't talk about them, and I don't talk about a lot of the cases I've been involved in for safety reasons.
Well, oh yeah, obviously. That's why I asked. That was why my first part of it was, can you talk about any of them that you've had? And they've showed, Hollywood has even showed this in, you and I were talking about it the other day, where there's been countless TV shows that have shown the trafficking a woman exactly how it happens.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
nobody seems to pay attention. They go, "Oh, that's bad," and that's all you hear about it.
Well, it's like, okay, I'll give you another good example. I don't know if you noticed this. You watch the news, you probably see the stuff on social media like me, like most of us out there listening. And over the last 2 months, there has been a noticeable spike in children going missing around the state of Ohio. You don't hear about it on the mainstream news.
Oh, really? That's my home state. You would think I would hear about that.
But that's the problem. It takes somebody that's into this kind of stuff to bring it out into the open. Mainstream media is not going to cover that.
All
There
right.
are so many people that go missing, men, women, children, boys and girls. You don't hear about it. And I'm the type of person where I'm the complete opposite. All this stuff needs to be put out there because people need to wake up to this. People need to be open to this.
Yeah,
Because it's happening everywhere.
you can't stop what you don't know is happening.
That's why I'm saying it takes people like me, people like you out there that could put that information out there and get people to stop and take notice and possibly give them that little push to, do what they can to make people aware of it.
Right.
I mean, it's all about awareness, too.
I mean, that's why we're talking to you. I want to do my part that we can do here at Blue Collar Politics to get out the news that, hey, just because, you may have seen it in the old Western movies, the old Shanghai trick. Well, that never quit. That has been going on ever since it worked in the 1600s, and I'm sure it went back even farther than that. I mean, there's a lot of evil people out there.
Oh, man, trafficking and prostitution has been going on since the advent of us.
Oh, well, yeah, that's...
It's nothing new.
It's called the world's oldest profession.
Right. And it's really sick, and it's heartbreaking, and it's sad, because these people, especially the ones that traffic children, and I know we talked about this the last time I was on for that segment. I feel it bears repeating, but traffickers make $500 billion a year.
Holy smoke. I've already heard that, and that number still blows me away.
That's like that they make more money off of trafficking than they do in the drug market. Like, it's that bad. And it goes on all over the place.
Wow. And they'll come and take these girls, take them to a country in which there's no extradition treaty or any type of treaty whatsoever. And then I'm assuming they're selling these to just rich people for whatever, for wives or for slaves, or is there a predominant?
They just basically use these kids to sexually exploit them because these people are sadistic and they get off on it. You'll get politicians are into it. Everybody's into it. Everybody's into it. there are so many people out there that, and I'm not going to go because I know Facebook likes to censor, and I don't want that to happen to this, but you would be surprised at some of the names in politics and in Hollywood
Oh,
that list ever comes out of people that are into that stuff.
that pizza place got shut down. People don't realize how real that was. And I won't say the name, I won't rehash it, so I don't want to get the show cut off because this is too important.
Right, right. But there's just so much of it, and you have some. It goes on. It goes around. It goes on all around the world. I mean, people are brought here from different countries and trafficked here, and it's the same way here. People that end up being trafficked,
Right.
here end up being trafficked overseas, and it's scary. It happens at such an alarming rate that nobody notices.
Well,
Nobody wants to acknowledge. But again, I'm all about awareness because people aren't going to know unless you put it out there.
right.
See, I had a stint where I was on Facebook and I was all about posting awareness completely until the Institute got targeted after someone was tagging all of us in posts. And so I stopped doing that. But I still advocate for human trafficking awareness as much as I can and just child exploitation in general. Because it shouldn't be happening.
Well, these people that are doing it, I know for a fact because I know, how we get our information here at BCP is a lot of times straight from the horse's mouth, and I can't divulge who I've talked to about it because in fear of their job and reprisals against them. So I can't always tell you where I got it from, but I can guarantee it's the truth. And I've talked to people, not directly in this, but I'm sure it relays over into this field also, that they have whole teams of people. Now we're talking 40, 50 people in a house hacking a internet from some unknown neighbor that left the default password on his router. And all these people do is chase down people like you and tag you, harass you, everything they can on Facebook, on Instagram, on all of them to shut you down so you don't tell people about what's going on.
Right, right. So that's why I do, and that's the way I work underneath stock the way I do for those reasons.
I wish there was a way to get the information out there without you having to use your name. I mean, we talk about it.
Unfortunately, there isn't a way.
Because you got no protection from you being attacked when you talk about it.
Right. Right. It's like, okay, I can tell you about an instance that I saved a girl from, completely separate from the Institute. I can tell you about that if you want to hear it, or if everybody would like to hear it.
Let's hear it.
Okay. So this was last summer, before my late husband got sick. We were up in Rhinelander in town. We went to Walmart to get some groceries, and he had to get some clothes. And so we split off in two different directions. I'm walking through the women's department to get something, and I'm looking at something, a piece of like a clothing on a rack, like a shirt, and all of a sudden, I feel somebody grab onto my arm. I thought it was my husband. Okay, so I turned around expecting it to be Kevin. It wasn't Kevin. It was a 16-year-old girl. She looked like she was about to cry. She was completely horrified. I didn't know what was going on at that point, and so I kind of leaned into her, and I asked her if she was okay, and she pointed behind both of us, and so I kind of just turned to where I can see, but not completely, and there were these two guys across from us, pretending to look at clothing racks, and they were watching the two of us talk. She looks at me and mouths the words, "Help me." And so I pretended that she was like a friend that I haven't seen in a while, and she told me her name, and I gave her a hug, and I kind of walked her off, and they were kind of just there watching, because when I looked up at them after that point, they had both walked off to another clothes rack, but they were still at a good, they were still kind of close to us.
Mm-hmm.
And said, oh, I found a shirt, something for you. Let's go and try this on. Your mom said you needed a shirt and you were kind of short, and I'll take care of it. So I hand it to her and we walk off. And the lady from the changing room comes on and she starts talking, and I whispered as soon as I got the girl to go in the dressing room, and I said, look, you need to call security. I said, don't point, don't look, don't give those two people in back of me any attention. And she goes, what's going on? I said, that girl came up to me, and I was whispering so they couldn't hear me,
Right.
and horrified, and told me that they had been following her around the store for over an hour. And she was in fear for her life. So she goes, I understand. And she walked off, and I gave her like a pile of clothing to make it
Right.
look like we were just doing a clothing exchange. A few seconds, like a minute or two later, while the girl is still safely in the dressing room, two security guards come from different sides of the store. These two see the two security guards and take off. And they haven't been back to that particular Walmart since.
Now,
And afterwards, I waited to make sure that they were gone. Security came back and gave me the all clear. And by this time, my husband had walked up to me, and he's like, what's going on? And I told her, and I said, you can come out now. I said, security's here. They're gone. You're safe. She came out and gave me one of the biggest hugs ever, and she goes, God bless you. She goes, thank you so much. She goes, you just saved me from being kidnapped.
wow. And, I mean, she had to have seen your aura to know to walk up to you.
It's possible. I think so, but I also think I was the first person who was in her general vicinity that maybe she knew she could trust, or that would maybe take notice and say something. And I'm not bragging about this, because I don't brag about this kind of work, too. That's another thing.
No, I don't take it as you bragging. You're just telling what happened.
It made me feel so good knowing that I saved her from being trafficked.
Wow. I still say it had to have been your aura. I'm a firm believer in, you put off who you are unknowingly. Because I've walked past people that I just felt death. And I walked past people that, you can't help but to smile when you walk past them, and I have no idea why. I've just always been able to do that. I can tell right away who I want to talk to and who I don't with just being near them. So I firmly believe that you put off your aura of who you are. And
Yeah, I like to think so, but I mean, for me, what was important in that moment was saving her life.
yeah,
And then that's when I had that realization that my eyes were open, like, holy crap, this stuff was happening right in my own town, under my nose. It's like right there, out in the open. And that just broke my heart.
yeah, because how many, if you want to ponder on it, it's how many did you miss? And then
Yeah.
you start thinking about that, and that'll drag you down really quick from a good feeling. Just how many people are being abducted every day, and then when you look on the news and you see a whole bunch of people whining about shit that they know nothing about or what's really going on, just amazes me of
Right.
of the stuff that people pay attention to. But earlier you were talking. I wanted to say something, but I didn't want to interrupt. When we were talking about sex trafficking around the world and how rampant it is, like in Thailand and I want to say Mogadishu, but in the reason I mentioned. Go ahead.
I said the Middle East, too, right?
Yes. Well, and Russia, really bad. But the reason I'm mentioning places around the Indian Ocean is y'all may not believe me, but y'all know that I'm the biblical survivalist, so I believe in God. And Thailand, when that 9.5 earthquake hit, and it sent a tsunami that killed 250,000 Thailanders. I think that's what you say.
Yeah.
I believe that was God's way of saying, quit this sex trafficking bullshit. You're not living your life right, so I'm gonna wipe your ass out. And
You know, I think that that's a possibility too. But I also think of, as a human race, we've kind of managed to do a lot of damage to this planet. And I think sometimes on the other spectrum, I'd like to think that, in a sense, with like all these earthquakes and all these fires and all these floods and all these tornadoes, I kind of think that's God's way of, slowly starting to take stuff back.
yeah, I mean, look at the coronavirus, what it's done for the family. You know, we we almost beat this thing. I mean, then these. I was watching Mayor Como earlier. He's mayor of New York,
Yeah.
and he was like, "What are you people doing?" He said, "We're a week away from opening up the state, and you dumbasses are all going out there walking hand in hand, complaining about something, passing the stupid virus around, because when the tear gas hits, it makes people cough and sneeze and everything else, and then you got 10,000 people coughing and sneezing, passing their shit all around." He says, "What are we going to do now? Or it's all going to be all the way back up." And this is not me saying it. This is Mayor Como saying it. I should
know.
I should have saved the clip because it was perfect.
Oh, no, I've seen that clip. I heard that clip. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I agree there. And I know we can't talk about this particular topic because you guys would be censored, but due to the current situation going on out there,
Yeah.
this is another way of spreading that virus around even
Well,
further.
our producers are right in the damn middle of it.
Right, and I think that with the current events going on here, that we're totally going to see spikes in the virus everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. In the main cities that, I didn't say anything. Mayor Como said that. So I'm not, I'm not,
I know.
I'm keeping my mouth shut till tomorrow. At 6 p.m. on the butcher shop, we're going to have our say. And they're either going to cut us off or they're not, but we don't care. We'll speak about it then. So we'll get back to what your abilities are. And would you please, now I've read this a couple times now because I've read your bio about 3 or 4 times, and about halfway down the bio it says she is well versed in metaphysics and theology and specializes in malevolent hauntings. Now, theology is study of the Bible, correct?
Sure.
Okay, so I guess that makes me a theologian too because I've studied it verse for word.
Yes, that makes you a theologian.
Okay. I've even studied the 40 books that are not in the Bible. I've read them all. And I have them all.
And so do I.
Well,
And when I mean malevolent hauntings, I am the resident demonologist for the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society. That is why you read my bio. You came across Presidium Warriors of St. Michael.
the word I couldn't pronounce.
Yeah, Presidium, because it's Latin. That's why Presidium. And I started maybe 5 years ago. A friend of my late husband and mine, who sadly passed away last spring, whose name I can't say, even though he's deceased, because he was retired. He was Roman Catholic, but he was an exorcist and he was a demonologist. Okay.
He's been through hell.
He took me under his wing and trained me to be a demonologist.
They're not supposed to do that.
He did.
Thank God. because I know for a fact the Roman Catholics are very strict about you have to be a priest, you have to be from a parish of I think 10 years before you can even go into their school. So to have
Right.
someone to take the time to teach you everything that you need to know, that's awesome.
Yeah, I learned stuff that you wouldn't learn in any book out there on demonology and spiritual warfare. And I am very blessed and very lucky and very, very grateful that I got to learn what I learned. And I need to correct myself. He was a demonologist. Him and his wife assisted clergy during exorcisms.
Oh,
And
okay.
so what I learned from him was valuable, and I will never forget that. And the Presidium Warriors comes into play because Father Bob Bailey, who I think he's in Rhode Island, he wanted to start an organization that could affiliate through the church with paranormal teams from different states. Because when you look at the demonic and you look at exorcism, there's a constant fight. There's never any kind of a drop in impossible and possession cases. And they needed people to represent teams statewide this way in case they got a case and they couldn't come out here where I am. They
Right.
can tell me where I need to go, and I can go and do the proper investigation and bring that information back to them, and then at the time they could make the required call whether this would need serious attention or not.
There is, and you might know who I'm talking about. In the last part, the malevolent hauntings, there's a gentleman, I think they call him the Collector, and they finally talked him into doing a series. He did it for 1 year and says, I'm done. And he would go out and figure out which item in the house was causing the family problems, whether it was a spirit attached to it, whether it was evil, whatever the case may be. And then he would take that item, clear the house of everything the proper way. At least it looked like he was doing it the proper way. It didn't look like he was doing it for the money. It looked definitely like he was, I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, we're all surprised.
No. You're talking about John Zaffis. He was
Yes,
also a demonologist. His aunt and uncle were Edward and Lorraine Warren.
that's it.
They're the ones that own the haunted museum that we now own and run, that's open to the public.
How does he keep all of that under control in that room? I've seen that.
Okay, he has help. Okay, there are certain methods that Ed and Lorraine taught him to do, which is they have cases for this stuff. They have medals on them, like St. Michael's medals, St. Benedict's medals. They use less salt, holy water. If they have objects that have demonic entities, like the Annabelle doll
Right.
attached to them, they will keep them in special locked cases with less salt, and the case will have holy water on the inside of the case before they put it in. And they'll say prayers over it. And what they do is they have Catholic priests on site who will come in and do what he needs to do to find those objects.
Okay, so they are for real taking
Yeah,
the
they're for
time
real.
to do it properly. So he is a real deal.
Yeah, he's the real deal. Yes, he's the real deal.
'Cause-
He doesn't act. He learns what he knew from Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Who are famous in their own right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ed Warren was a demonologist, also with the church, and his wife was a very gifted medium.
I know those two. I mean, not from a TV show, but from my research. I've ran across who they are.
Can't get you on.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah, YouTube, it says so many waiting for Tom Fry.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. Um, You know what? Let's take a real quick commercial break because, um, Mom can't even get us on, so I want to go see if YouTube is for some reason jacked us up. Um, so I need to. I want to do that at the top of the hour. So I'm going to throw on my a 3 minute commercial, and then, like I was telling you, so if you don't mind hanging on,
No, not at all.
Jennifer. Okay, I'm going to play
Not
this
at all.
commercial so I can go see what's going on if we're actually on the air or off the air. And then I'll come back and, like I was telling everyone, we're going to play the intro at the top of the hour. And then later tomorrow, when it's uploaded on YouTube, we're going to split every show into individual. Yeah, I turned down the sounds because it was blasting my ears out. I can turn up the sounds, but I gotta go check with some. That was my producer. So hang on, everyone. We're gonna go to a commercial. We'll be right back. We'll get the volumes adjusted, and we are talking with Jennifer Malik. And she's so many things. What do you prefer to be called?
I don't have labels. Like, I don't use labels. So you can just call me by my name.
Okay, well, all right, we'll be back. We'll talk with Jennifer Malik a lot more. We got a whole lot of stuff to go over, so we ain't even got started yet. So hang on. We'll be right back after these messages.
Blue Collar Politics is
Okay.
brought to you
Let's
by
go see what's
CK
going on with
Custom Security Consultants and Paladin Security Consultants. Offers you an unparalleled after-the-sale service where you become a client, not just a sale. We offer DVR multi-camera systems, access point sales and service, NVR multi-location systems up to 320 cameras, biometric safeguards, wireless cameras, computer networks, mobile cameras for car, truck, camper, or semi-truck, POS, point of sale, cash register systems, video compiling, loss prevention. We are experienced with the court procedure, asset protection, hardened access point installs, door or upgrade. We offer expert security analytics free with purchase. We also offer free digital forensic service all the way to the courtroom. We never leave our clients to fend for themselves. We work with the police department and the prosecutors to ensure your interests are looked after. At CK Custom and Paladin Security Consultants, we can work with your contractor to install your security DVR system during a remodel or new construction in order to hide the wires, providing the perfect professional install. We are here to make your business more secure. CKC Security Consultants and Paladin Security Consultants are ready to help enhance your security, engineer, installation, and maintenance, and investigation. Browse our site and then give us a call for a free on-site consult at 352-321-9519. We serve the Central Florida
Okay,
area,
Jennifer.
but we do have
All right, we should be able to talk.
to travel with the system in anywhere in the state of Florida. You can go to ckcustom.com and find out everything about the camera systems we offer, and if you have any questions, we have multiple pages that explain each one of the features that we list for sale. We want to make sure you understand what you are getting when you get it, and that you will know you are protected after you purchase a system from Paladin Security Consultants. The truth will set you free.
Blue Collar Politics, press 9 for the truth. Sorry about that. I forgot to turn the mic back on. This is Thomas Fry, the Biblical Survivalist, and you are listening to Blue Collar Politics on a Tuesday evening. It is 9 o'clock, 2100 hours. And like I said, we're doing a special tonight. We are going to break the show into 3 separate YouTubes. So I'm going to play the intro at the top of the hour. We're going to do it one more time at 10 o'clock. And then tomorrow, when you go to look on the YouTube channel, you're going to see 3 different shows with Jennifer Malik, because we like her. So we're going to get her on all kinds of shows. And it'll be 3 in an hour bite. So it'll be, Roman numeral number 1, Roman numeral number 2, and Roman numeral number 3. So that way you can listen, an hour at a time. You don't have to listen to all 3 hours. You don't have to worry about keeping your place. You don't have to worry about none of that. So we're just experimenting, see if you like it. And we have Jennifer Malik tonight. And we were going to jump right back in with her. And, I played the one commercial. That'll cover it. Don't forget, we got Colloidal Silver at bluecollarpolitics.org. We have t-shirts on Facebook, and I finally ordered me one, so I'll have it on the air, hopefully, if it ever comes. But I ordered one, I'm getting 12, so you have to order them at 12 at a time. So hopefully there's a bunch of people that need them for extra large, so we can have the BCP emblem out there, and people can have it on their shirts. So, Jennifer, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, the first hour, we went over who you were, and we found out that you have saved many people and the people that you worked with. And then right at the end there, we started getting into some of these natural disasters, and it's kind of funny how they're always happening in places that are, one, abusing children. If you look at the earthquakes in Pakistan and the Middle East, mainly, Pakistan, Iran, I'm not even sure what the rest of those countries are called. Everything's so messed up over there. I still think there's an Iraq and a Sudan and all that, but they've been getting devastating earthquakes. So is Italy, and Italy's had a lot of them in the last couple of years. Have you ever heard of Dutch Sense? Jennifer?
No, doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, he's a earthquake expert. And he's been doing his own YouTube thing for years now, because he's been in a fight with the U.S. Geological Society, because they don't always post things like they're supposed to. And he brings it and shows everybody every single earthquake wherever it happens around the world. And we've had some pretty devastating ones that they're starting to get closer. And we have been pelted by with hurricanes, the tornadoes that are tearing through our middle section in this country are astronomically horrible. The sinkholes that happen in Florida, maybe it's because we're doing something wrong. And COVID-19 has done something to this country. It has forced us to put the family unit back together. So I think, if you step back and look at the whole picture, and that's why I brought up that sense, is because, he's not religious at all, but he lets you know what's going on, volcano blasts and everything else. And we've had like 400 people in the last 2 years die from volcano eruptions. Um, you know, some of these, it's these own people's fault. You know, when you take a boat out to a volcano to walk in the what's that called in the center of the volcano where it comes out of? It's every time I see Corona, I can't remember the stupid name. Caldera, because it's so close. They were walking in the caldera. The volcano exploded and killed about half the people that were there. Some barely got off with their lives. Third degree burns, over 80% of their body. That ain't no joke. You know, um, people died at Mount St. Helens. The last time Rainier went off, it killed thousands. I mean, it was the Indians, but it still killed thousands. I think people. Why do so many? And you know, you're in touch with a lot of people as far as how they act and stuff. Why do people push themselves? Why did they have to go to these dangerous places to see? What are they looking for?
No, I don't know. I mean, I think as human race, we're curious. We're very curious as people. And so a lot of people that do this have maybe seen or read or heard about it, and so they figure that they'll go there because they want a chance to experience it. And when you have dangerous situations that involve like one you just described, you know, I don't understand why people would want to put themselves in that kind of danger. I mean, you're talking about a volcano that's like,
Well,
yeah.
Look at how many people visit our national park, the super volcano out in Yellowstone. I mean, if that went up, you're not getting it. If you're within 100 miles of that, if just one portion, one little tiny 50-foot across area of it explodes, it's going to wipe out everyone within the first 100 miles.
Yeah, it's like, what was it? I went to see last month now. A lady went to Yellowstone. She wasn't doing the social distancing thing. And this is when things were still kind of on lockdown, I guess, because of the virus. Like, I still think, in a sense, things are still on lockdown. But she actually fell onto the geyser and got seriously burned. I don't know. I don't remember if she passed as a result. But I remember reading about that online, and I just thought it was crazy that she wanted to go and check it out. And she wasn't careful. Like, she wasn't paying attention, and she fell right onto this geyser, and she just got burnt up.
Yeah, that happens about 2 or 3 times a year out there.
Yeah.
I know they don't publicize it very much. But just for anybody who didn't hear, because I know that I was told we had a little volume problem with you, you were talking about a lady that went out to Yellowstone and fell on a geyser and got severely burned. They in that park, I think, what is it, 3 people a year die?
Yeah, on average, 3 people a year, they estimate.
And that brings us to the other thing we were talking about the other day that I definitely want to remember. We were talking about David Paulides.
Yes, David Paulides. Yes.
Paulides, yes. Sorry I said it wrong. We all know I can't pronounce it. But I saw him. I saw him in a video where he was not talking about a particular story. He was talking about some of the stuff that people send to him. And I want to see if I can find that YouTube video. It was here it is. All right, you know what? Let's play a little bit of this.
Okay.
And then we can talk about it. Let me See if I can bring it up here.
Hey, Dave Politis, Canada Missing Project, the copyrighted version for our YouTube page. Hey, first of all, thanks for tuning in. It's another week, kind of radical weather up here. We've had some thunderstorms, and you might see some nasty clouds in the background. But in this version, we're going to talk about the Cascades, starting in Northern California, going up through British Columbia. And for people who haven't read the books, there's a lot of people missing in the Cascades. Too many to ignore. And it's part of the Pacific Mountain System. It has some extinct volcanoes in it and some active ones. And up in Northern California, I've written about cases at Mount Lassen and also Mount Shasta. Now, if you go back into one of our high 40s videos, I think we're approaching 50 now on this channel. But in one of them, I spoke about a man that disappeared on Mount Shasta named Carl Landers. And if you go onto Amazon.com, you can watch a show I made for the History Channel called Vanished, where he's highlighted there. But that's only Mount Shasta. There was also a case I wrote about on Mount Lassen. And this range of the Cascades extends 700 miles north. Some of the cases I've written about in Oregon were in the Mount Jefferson and the Sisters Wilderness on North Sister, also in Mount Hood in Oregon. And then as you go further north, you got Rainier, Mount Rainier at over 14,000 feet. Also, there's a bunch of cases on Mount Rainier. There's also a couple of cases I've written about on Mount St. Helens at a little over 9,600 feet before it blew its top. And probably one of the more interesting mountains in the Cascades in Washington is Mount Adams. And if you go online, there's a long history of strange lights coming out of that mountain. And very unusual is that there's almost hardly any missing people around that mountain. Don't know what to say about that. But for being a big mountain at 12,200, you'd think there would be, but there's none. Kind of strange. But in the Cascades system, going from Northern California to BC, and I won't talk about Canada here, but there's almost 60 people I've written about. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And when you think about the volcanoes, active and inactive, then you also talk about all of these are high mountains, 9, 10, 11, 12, up to 14,000 feet. Lots of granite, lots of water. There's lakes all around these places. And there's an isolation factor. Now, Carl Landers, talking about Mount Shasta, disappeared on May 25th, 1999. He's 69 years old. I won't go into the details. You can go back in the videos and watch. But there was also another man that disappeared on Mount Shasta. His name was John Neza. He was 80 years old. He disappeared July 17th, 1965. John was not your average man, by any means. He had summited Mount Shasta 40 times.
Wow.
And people had seen him on the mountain that day, so they knew that he was there when he disappeared. As I've stated in every interview I've ever done on Shasta, there's no place to disappear there. There are no crevices. And in speaking to the searchers that ran the operation on Carl Landers, there's no place really to hide there. The idea that two men, elderly men, vanished on that mountain is truly bizarre. Talk about another case. Ron Ohm, August 9th, 2000.
Okay, I was looking for a particular thing. He was talking about Mount Rainier in particular, and I was hoping it was at the beginning, but I guess it's not. So I'll have to go back and pinpoint exactly, and I'll play it on another show. But he was talking about the Indians and their involvement in Mount Rainier, and mainly their medicine men that they had to leave that live up there just to keep other people from going up there, because there are certain parts in Mount Rainier, if you go, you will disappear, period. It don't matter who you are, and most of these guys that David brings to the limelight are healthy, vibrant, experienced guys that, you know, the one he said summited 40. If you summit a mountain 40 times, you know that mountain so well. You know every aspect of that mountain. And to disappear. Now, David only does the national parks. Now, I know you go everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's a national park, if it's a mall down the street.
Yeah.
And I know it's a lot easier for him to talk about the cases because they're public information and you can't go into detail like he can. But you guys are both on about the same number. I mean, he's well over, I think he's at 145 cases.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any cases where you found people in a national park?
We've done a couple, but again, for safety reasons, I can't mention which. But yeah, we've done several cases where we were able to find them in national parks.
Well, I know you like David. I know
David's great. I follow his work big time, and I think it's, you know, I give that man all the props in the world for going out and doing what he does. You don't come across people like him every day. And if you look at the rate that people go missing in these national parks, the forestry people, the parks departments, you know, the forest rangers know about it, but they won't talk about it. They're not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah, that's messed up to begin with.
You know? There's so many reasons why people go missing, especially in parks every year. It's like, okay, example, you know, going back into like the whole metaphysics, the paranormal, because everything ties to the paranormal in some aspect, some way, somehow. There's always a connection to the unknown and unexplained. And there's a theory out there, and I'm sure you've heard of this before, where there are said to be portals in some of these big state parks.
Absolutely.
I've talked to countless shamans during my years with my husband and when we had our radio show, and they talk about portals being in places like this. You know, it's like, okay, it's like that one example of this family. They were at some park, and I don't remember where, and they decide to go for a hike, and their little boy could have been more than like 2 feet away from them. They didn't even make it out of their camp area. They turned around to see why he wasn't catching up as quick as he normally was, or he should have been. He was gone. They couldn't find him. They sent search parties out. And I think it was a helicopter that located this boy at the top of a mountain. He was still in the same park. But there was no way that he could have made it through all that brush and all that bramble and climbing up big hilly mountains like that to be found on one completely unharmed.
That, if I remember correctly, that was the one that the helicopter was going home. They were on the second range of the mountain when they spotted him.
Yeah.
They had already given up.
They had already given up, and they were on the way to just leave and happened to pass by that mountain, and there was that little kid.
Now, for 12 hours, and I remember that case explicitly because it baffled my mind. And how does a 5-year-old make it over 2 mountains in 12 hours and be perfectly fine when they found him, not even wet?
Right. And he was 5, and that's another factor. There's no 5-year-old kid that's going to make it up a high mountain range like that in 12 hours.
When my kids were 5, they're lucky to find the bathroom.
Right. You know, and then that's the portal theory. Well, then you have to look at wild animals, because wild animals go after people in parks. That's another reason why people disappear. You know, and you have serial killers.
Yeah.
And I say this because, okay, there's this old show that's out. I don't even know if it's still on anymore. It was called Dark Minds. It was a crime show, and they did a 2-part series on a serial killer called Israel Keys. He was in the military. He was, the boy next door, helped everybody out. He was in construction, helped people out when they needed food, places to stay, just stuff like that. What he did on his off time, because he learned this in the military, he would literally travel across the country to different states. He would have buckets buried in the ground with rope, duct tape, knives, all kinds of weapons. He would kidnap his victims, and I think in one instance, I think it was in Alaska or Denver. I'm not really sure. I don't remember. But he had actually abducted a young woman from a crop top. He wore a ski mask so you could see his face. And he took her up to the lake. He murdered her. He decapitated her body. And what he did, because it was fishing season, he actually got a fishing shanty, went inside of it with her, drilled a hole through the ice, and dumped a bag with her remains down into the water, and she was never found.
That's disgusting.
And I use that as an example because that's what he did.
Yeah.
He had burner cell phones. He never kept the same number. And what shocked a lot of people was that he was a father and he had a girlfriend at home with a daughter, and they had no idea that he was driving across country and doing this.
Wow.
And so I cite this as an example of, there was another incident where he abducted a couple that was hiking up in some national state forest, and he did the same thing. And I brought up the human aspect of it too, because that's another way people go missing. There are just so many factors of people going missing in these parks every year. It's crazy.
Criminal Minds did a episode, well, they've done more than one episode, on being in a national park and people going missing and them trying to stop other people from going in that they weren't even paying attention. They were just driving right past. If you're pulling into a national park and there's 20 police cars sitting at the entrance and they're trying to convince you to turn around and go home, turn around and go home.
Yeah.
Because one of the ones that they did in the state park, a tow company, okay, this whole family was serial killers. And when someone would break down on their beat, out in the middle of nowhere, no cops to be found, they'd get their vehicle. Well, and then they'd kidnap and kill them and take them out in the woods and use them for hunting practice. And they take their vehicle and they put them in these shipping containers. So they had 50 shipping containers out back. And when they finally busted them, and now granted, this is a TV show, but I'm telling you,
it happens in real life.
It was taken from a true story.
Right.
And
you watch shows like that, and that's what I tell people. When you watch shows like that, think about it. They're using actual cases based on their episodes.
And I like how Criminal Minds, I like how they present it. They don't hold back from the disgusting part.
No.
They want to, and people, I don't get it. People eat that up. Now, I watched it because I knew some of the stories that they were talking about before the show. So I've already read the reports and I've already investigated it as far as I could, and I know a lot of the cases that they did. And I mainly concentrated on ones that wwere solved. That freaked me out when I'd read them and they haven't been solved yet. Because, they just, they knew that the police were getting too close, so they packed up and moved to another area. When they're smart, you're in trouble. Because they'll hit 40, 50, or never be caught. There was one case they did that they ended up catching the killer, and they caught it on a cold case, but they found the bones of the killer sitting at his kitchen table, and by digging up the ground around the house, they found over 65 victims.
Are we talking about Gacy?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. I remember that case.
Yeah. And I had studied that case before it made it on Criminal Minds. They have to add a little theatrical to it, so you have to look past that. If
right.
And that case is the police reports are online, so you can read the entire case, because the case went cold. When the case goes cold, the FBI posts the entire case file on the internet. It's not the easiest thing to find, but if you really want to know and you really want to read these cases, they are there for any court procedure in our country is public information. There's no spying, there is no hacking involved. All this stuff is out there for you to see. Now, I understand why most people would not, they want to live blindly, they want to live happy, and you can't blame someone for doing that.
Oh, no, of course, and I would never do that. I'm not the type of person to, but yeah.
Exactly. But see, I'm like you. Now, I don't have your talent. I wish I did. My biggest claim to fame is I can communicate with my daughter without a phone. So I haven't talked to her on the phone in 2 years, but I know exactly what she feels every single day, and as she does me. And she even it was the day after I got my leg cut off, I got a Facebook thing from her telling me she loved me and everything, and she'd hoped the best for me, but I hadn't posted that I'd lost my leg yet at that point. This was a month and a half ago. So she knew it before I had told her, before my mom had told her. My mom didn't talk to her. I mean, I went in the hospital on Sunday. On Monday, I was legless. Well, I have one leg left, but I'm still in a wheelchair. I'm not healing right. So if anybody out there believes in God, I would appreciate a little prayer for some healing here. I need a little help. I think maybe I eat too much sugar or something. I don't know.
Well, look, okay. For me, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
The work I do with the Institute, okay, it's very good what we do, but it can be emotionally taxing because the cases that we've handled are heavy.
Oh.
There's times that when you do these remote views for these cases, you're not only feeling what the person is feeling or felt, but you're also feeling what the person doing it to that person feels.
Now that would freak me the hell out.
That's heavy. That's really, really heavy. It's like when we look at a photo, when we do cases, we can tell by the energy of the person in the photo whether they're alive or not.
So let me ask you then, if you feel what a killer feels, how would you describe that?
It's horrible. It's dark.
Because I've cut up a deer and I hunt. And
you're talking about people that have no emotions. They don't feel. All they feel is anger and rage, and this is going to sound really sick because it is. They get off on doing this to people. When I've done cases to where I've actually seen somebody being murdered, I was able to feel what that woman was feeling at the time, or these women, but I'm also feeling the excitement and just the sadistic pleasure that these people would get from draining the life out of these people, and it's horrible. It's horrible. I have had several instances when I'm not working for the Institute, where I've tasted blood. You see all this stuff that you may not be ready to see. And see what, for some of the heavier cases we had, I lost sleep over some of those cases because it's just so heavy and it's just so, it's horrible. Because I've been able to feel with both the killer and the victim is feeling at the same time.
I'd be in a corner balled up crying.
Oh, I have had my cases to where we've solved cases, again, but I can't go into detail, where I've actually, this is when my late husband was alive. I would sit there and he would hold me and I would cry in his arms for half the night because it was just so much. Because you're watching this, you're feeling this going on during these remote views, and you're also feeling the emotion coming from these two, especially when it comes to the victims. And it's just terrible because you want to reach out and do something, and you can't.
Wow. So, all these evil people that are doing this in the world, is that where, I'd almost say the demonology fits in, but when they die, they're still as angry and still as unsatisfied, and are they the ones that haunt?
Yes, I mean, there are spirits around, that are bad, and it's that saying, as in life, so in death. If you think about people that were serial killers, when they die, just because they're no longer physically here, our souls are eternal. We just don't have the physical vehicle anymore like they don't. And so you have instances of that. They're still going to be as dark and as evil as they were in life. And there have actually been some violent hauntings throughout history that have been through, living monsters that were people at one point.
Wow.
And then you look at serial killers. It's like, okay, I'll give you an example. Richard Ramirez. When they asked him why he did it, he said the devil made him do it. Something took control of him and he couldn't stop it. And I think when it comes to serial killers, demonic entities love taking advantage of that.
All
and
right.
I believe that when you have these killings going on, that they do get taken over. And because if you look at cases of demonic possession or exorcism, when exorcisms have been successful, the person that was possessed has no memory of the exorcism. It's like they weren't even around for it. That's what a lot of these people that were serial killers describe.
Okay. But, all right, now, it's been my understanding that the rule of between God in heaven and the devil in hell, who was an angel, and he, was when he was discharged of his duties, Lucifer used to be God's light. And then he was discharged, so 200 angels with him left heaven and came down here on earth. And then when Jesus was on the earth, he, sealed off the door to hell. And I was under the impression that I got from the Bible that they're not allowed to physically harm or physically touch. So is the demon possession the loophole in the rule?
Okay. The way it works with the fallen angels is they're on a short leash as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Because they can only do so much before he intervenes. And when you're dealing with possession, I've learned from my late mentor that a lot of times people that have had true possession cases at some point turn themselves away from God. or they invited something into their home unknowingly, masquerading or under the guise of something love and light. Because when you deal with the demonic and you deal with possession, there are stages that lead up to possession. It's not just possession. And so you have, for example, invitation.
Right.
Invitation's important here because people can unknowingly or knowingly invite something in, whether it be through spirit communication.
Or like the moron that
like
goes
the
down and
Ouija
gets an upside down tattoo of a cross put on his body.
Or the same type of person that gets the gates of hell tattooed on their body. Yes.
Right.
You know, people that participate in necromancy, people that just do satanic rituals. There are so many ways for these things to get in that people don't realize it. And when you have a family with kids, it's all the more dangerous because if you have kids that are around 5, maybe younger, they haven't been exposed to the world around them, so they're completely innocent, okay?
Right.
These beings will masquerade as other children or beings of love and light to gain the trust of the child, to get the child to let them in. And that's when it starts. And you have, then once they're in, that's infestation.
Right.
Okay. Infestation is when you start getting the flickering lights, you start getting the knocking sounds, the footsteps, things slamming. It'll sound like combat boots, you know, in hallways or upstairs, stomping around. People will get, you know, they'll get to the point where they start fighting with each other. Because another thing that people don't realize, and I do want to say this before I continue with the stages here, that God created the angels first. They know everything there is to know about every single one of us as a human being on this whole entire planet, the planet, in and out, and how it all works.
From
they
the
know,
beginning to the end.
Right. They know what crack to look for in our foundation to try and get in.
And also, before you continue, there's a very simple way. It's a very simple prayer to get rid of it. If you catch it in time, you know, if you unknowingly did it, then you're not going to stop it. But if you start to feel the crazy stuff, you just go, in the name of Jesus, I beseech you, you cannot come in here, be gone. And it will be gone.
Right. The rebuking prayer.
Yes.
You know, when I do home deliverances, when I've done them in the past, that's one of the many prayers I use. But getting back to what I was saying, when it talks about the infestation, people will start to notice things like odors. It'll smell like, you know, bodies decaying, or sewage, or garbage, or spoiled milk. Anything that just would make you pungent and stick to your stomach. You know, then it goes to obsession, oppression, where they will come into your home and they will break down each family member one by one, separate and individually, to weaken them all. And then the stage after that is when stuff starts getting physical. And that's obsession. You know, people start getting bit, scratched, attacked during the day, attacked at night. And these things will strike without warning. And it'll get to the point where they'll focus maybe on one person in the house, because that's how it usually ends up. And they will work on attaching themselves to that individual, because the next stage after that is possession, and what happens with possession. And another thing that people have to realize when it comes to the demonic, the ultimate goal for them, as far as we're concerned, is death. Because They hate us. They don't like us. They don't like that we were created, and we were created in His image.
Right. Well, this is the way I understand it, and this really pisses off the fallen angels. We are the seventh and final creation. God said that this is my best work. When He created man this time, that now if you go back and look at the Bible, if you've studied the Bible, everything has its number. Jesus' number is 3. God's number is 7. Everything that God does is in sevens. There's 7 days in the week. There's I forgot, but anyway, the point I was making is that there's 7,000 years from the beginning to the end of us, I firmly believe, which we are about 232 years away by my math. Can't count on my math exactly, but I'm pretty sure that God has a predetermined time limit on how long we're going to be here on this earth to when He's going to...
I'm sure. It's like I tell people all the time, man makes plans, God laughs. The only person that could determine the time that we have on this earth is Him.
Yeah.
When the fans sit there and be like, because it's one of those things that used to make me chuckle, when like the Mayan calendar ran out and everyone was like, the world is going to end. How many times have we heard that and nothing happened? It's because...
You know what they're on this time?
Hmm?
They're on 2029 this time.
Right. But, I use this as an example again because you have people that have sat there and say, okay, well, the world is going to end on this date. The world is going to end on that date. We as people don't have that power to do that. When He's ready to flip that switch, then He'll flip it.
Yeah. But you're supposed to live every day like it's your last, but yet you live every day like you're going to live forever.
Right.
And once you figure that out, then you're doing good. Now, I also believe that the good will always die first. I've had in my family an aunt that died a horrible accident, but she died, I think she was 21. It was on her honeymoon. Was hit by a drunken driver. She was the most kindest, gentlest, helpful, never done anything wrong, never drank a beer, never stayed out late, never not did her homework, straight A student. I mean, everything perfect. Sang in the church choir, the whole 9 yards. All right? She didn't deserve to be on this earth. She's too good for it. So God took her. I've lost a few other family members young that, hey, He takes the innocent, and it ain't fair, but that's the way it happens. And I firmly believe if you must fill your destiny before He will take you. And that's the way I kind of believe it goes. You have a job to do when you're on the earth, and you need to fulfill that job. When you fulfill that job, it's your time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when I do the work of demonology for it, because I am but a vessel for God. So the work that I'm doing is coming to me through Him.
And that goes to your talent, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're born, you're given a talent, all right? And for those of us that can figure out what our talent is, great because you were given the gift to do something spectacular. Now, if you figure out that gift, good to go. But you don't always figure out that gift. But when you die, I believe that God takes that talent and gives it to somebody else. Because you take your consciousness, you take your who you are, but you don't take your talent.
No. Not at all. It's like, okay, I'll give you an example. Another thing that I do, and this I could be open with because I've been doing it for years. And me and you talked about this on the phone one day. You know, I've had my share of human spirits that I've had to help sober.
Oh, yeah.
And that's another thing I like doing. Because I feel if somebody passes away and they don't necessarily realize that they're dead, they need to be at rest and at peace, not stuck here.
Yeah. You were telling me about one that you
Yeah.
bumped into in the hospital?
Yeah, okay. Would you like me to talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, last December, while my husband was in hospital, and for privacy reasons, I'm not going to say what hospital. It was just in the state of Wisconsin. He had surgery, and he was in recovery, and they called me to tell me I could go and see him. And I walk out of the family lounge room, and I'm walking, and I turn the corner, and as I'm walking down the hall towards the doors, there is an elderly man standing there. He looks completely lost. I looked as real as you and me, like flesh and blood. Like I thought he was like an actual real living person. So I kind of just, nod at him, acknowledge him. He does it back, and he kind of looks at me, and he's startled for a few seconds, and he comes over, and he's like, "Can you help me?" And he goes, and I said, "Are you lost?" I said, "Do you need help?" I said, "Are you, what room are you in? Are you looking for somebody?" And he's like, "I need you to follow me." And I go, "Okay." Not thinking of it right off the bat, because usually when someone asks you for help, you're going to help.
Right.
So I was following him, and we were talking, and all of a sudden, he goes, "I need you to follow me to the basement." And that's when I kind of stopped. And I said, "Sir?" And I said, "What's in the basement?" He goes, "My body is in the basement downstairs." He goes, "I need you to follow me down there so you can put me back into my body." And I had asked him if he knew what happened. And the last thing he said was that he was having really bad chest pains. He couldn't breathe. And then all of a sudden, everything went black. He's like, "I need you to help me." I said, "Sir," I said, "I am a human like yourself." He goes, "Okay." I said, "I need you to understand that if there was a way that I could put you back in your body, I would love to. I would be more than happy to help you." And I said, "But I said, "I'm not God. I can't play God." I said, "What I can do is help you get to where you need to go." And I said, "Do you have any family that members that have passed away before you?" And he's like, "Yeah, my wife. She passed away X amount of years ago. And for all intents and purposes, I'll just use a random name. I'll just call her Rose. My wife, Rose, passed away." He goes, "And I can't," he goes, "and I don't know how to get to her." So what I did was I had asked God, and I had asked you this, and I even called on St. Michael. And I had asked to pray, and I did a prayer, and I basically asked them to intercede on my behalf to help this poor man cross over because he was lost. And I literally got to witness his wife coming for him, and his wife crossed him over.
That's so cool.
And I just felt a total sense of peace when he crossed over.
Wow. You know what?
It was the most beautiful thing ever.
I think it sounded better the second time when you said it. It hit me different. That was cool. Very
Well,
cool
and
of
that's
you to do.
and I've done that over the years for countless amounts of spirits of people that passed away and needed to be crossed over. And it's like when I work these cases for the Institute, some of the ones that we were able to get to be at rest to cross over and go where they need to go have, you know, a handful have come back, and they actually helped me and the rest of the other mediums working on cases and locating other missing people.
Wasn't that weird the first time that happened?
Not for me. I mean, I grew up seeing spirits since before I could walk and talk. So it was just something that I was used to growing up. It's normal for me. And growing up, I also learned that when I came in to know my abilities as I got older, when I was, you know, still in my childhood and my preteens and my teens, I couldn't talk about it because not many people believed in that.
Yeah. Today's a different world where...
Right. I mean, look at it now. There are ghost hunting shows on TV. People do documentaries. It's like one of the shows I used to love watching, and I still watch the old episodes on YouTube, is Psychic Detectives. I loved how they used to bring in talented psychics, and they would help locate bodies of people. And that's something from an early age that I was fascinated with and wanted to do and never thought I would get to do until I was approached by one of the remote viewing mediums. We're actually called, he calls us RVAs, or remote viewing angels. And she approached me about it because they were working on a case several years ago, and she had asked me if I'd gotten anything from an image of a person and a Google map coordinate, but she couldn't tell me any information, which at the time I was totally fine with, because it was a case where they were trying to find somebody, and it was so hard to get just general information or see if they could get information, so I was able to help them out with that. And they came back, she came back a little while later, and she's like, you know, she goes, both me and Doc were really impressed by what, you know, you were, what information you gave us, because some of your information we used, aside from what we gathered, we were able to find this person. And she's like, and I'm like, and then I asked, and I'm like, well, who's Doc? And she goes, he runs the Institute. And she explained that's how they, yeah, that's what they did. And then the next day I was on the phone with Doc, and I ended up joining. And it's just been the most wonderful, rewarding, amazing thing I have ever done out of everything that I do.
Wow. That, it definitely sounds like you found your calling, and you're definitely good at it.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. I look at it as everybody has a calling, and he leads you down the path to what you're supposed to be guided to do, and he totally did that. And I totally believe that.
All right, you are an extremely intelligent woman, one of the smartest women I've ever met. So let me ask
thank you.
You're welcome. Let me ask you this. All my life, this has happened, but it's especially happened more lately, in the last 10 years or so. And it's happened a couple times while I was driving, and it really screws with me because it takes my vision off the road, so I lose track of where I'm at no matter what I'm doing. I see flashes. Now, I can't always tell you or remember what they were, but they're as clear as if I was there. I mean, it's not like a flash you see in your head. It's like a flash where I'm somewhere else and I'm looking at something and I don't know why, and it's not to do with my family. About 20 years ago, I kept getting these flashes for like a year that were, I was seeing different types of dragons fly around. So I know dragons are real. because whatever is causing this for me to be able to see these things, and I told my mom about them about a month ago. Finally, after, I'm 51, I've been having them since I was 10, 9, 10 years old. I would get them. Most of the time, it was of a future event that I would then, I'd remember when I was in that event. But in my late 20s, 30s, and 40s, it changed, and I can't always identify what I'm seeing.
Okay. That sounds like premonition. That sounds like premonitions to me.
That's what a Wicca person told me.
Well, look, premonitions are events that happen that link you to people, places, objects, and energies before they happen. It's kind of like an information download. In that moment, before things happen, you're getting a glimpse of what's going to happen.
But how do you remember it or how am I supposed to know what I'm supposed to do with that information?
Follow your gut. Like when you come across that stuff, what does your intuition tell you? And I'm going to say this too because everybody has intuition. Everybody is intuitive to some degree.
I follow my gut all the time. It tells me to make a decision one way or another, and I trust my gut. I go with it.
Right.
I've made last-minute decisions that have made me a lot of money, and I've made last-minute decisions that have been total disaster. They're not always perfect, but it usually steers me in the right direction. And when it does happen to where it is not beneficial to me right at that time, it's because I shouldn't have went down that path, and then something happens later on that if I would have went this way, I wouldn't have been able to do what's in the future. But lately it's not been things in my own life, and I've not been sure what to do about it. Or if it's sorry, I was just going to finish with, if it's not in my own life, or if it is in my own life, it's farther ahead in the future.
Right. And it could be, I think it's both. I think, you deal with the people that you're close to, and maybe even complete strangers. The fact that you get to see stuff that a lot of people don't get to see, it's for a reason. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
okay.
No,
It's like,
I agree.
it's
I don't think it's for me being on the air talking about it. I mean, there's got to be something else that it's for.
And I'm sure there is some bigger connection there. But and the fact that you're bringing this out and you're talking about this on radio, it's like with your vibrational frequency. You're raising your vibrational frequency because you're such a positive person. You're putting this stuff out here for you're putting this knowledge, all this information forth for other people to take and pick it apart and see what works for them and see what doesn't work for them. It's kind of like you were talking about a minute ago about having a calling. So when I think of what you're describing to me, that's what it sounds like, that this is your calling.
Well, the only books I've been able to find on it are Wiccan, and you know what? Hold on one second there. We're already a minute late. Let me get through and pay the bills real quick, and we'll be back with Jennifer Malik for the final hour of Blue Collar Politics. I am your host, Thomas Fry, and I am the Biblical Survivalist, and we will be right back after these messages, if I can get them to play. Okay, hang on. The truth will set you free.
At Benzer Pharmacy, we understand busy. That's why all our locations offer free home delivery, personalized service, refill reminders, and specialty medication, even pet meds.
Are you tired of coming home to find out only that you've been robbed? Did your alarm company call you and tell you that you've been robbed and the police will be there in 20 minutes? No one can stop all thieves. But at CK Custom Security Consultants, we can design and install a real CCTV security system that will give you the evidence you need to put them away. Here at CK Custom Security Consultants, we do an on-site engineering assessment where we discuss the pros and cons of the different security systems available that just might suit your needs. This service is free. There are several different financial options available for you, and we look forward to meeting you and assisting you in reaching your security goals. CKCustom.com, where all of your security needs are met. Are you sick of our healthcare system? The lies, constantly putting you on one more drug that isn't covered by your health insurance company? I'm sick of it too. And I found a very old recipe for colloidal silver. It is a liquid solution created using electrolysis to suspend pure metallic elemental silver in groups of particles of 18 atoms or fewer, each with a positive electric charge, attached to a simple protein molecule in distilled water. Some say that the colloidal silver goes back 4,000 years. I found the process that was almost been lost to time. Colloidal silver works just like triple antibiotic ointment. It will keep your cuts clean, and it's an antiviral too. This product could save your life when there's no doctor around, and you can put colloidal silver directly on the wound to keep the infection away. Get yours now at bluecollarpolitics.org. Just click on the BCP store tab and you are on your way to having that doctor in a bottle. Hello, this is Thomas Fry, and this is Blue Collar Politics. And I thought I had that timing all down there. I was ready to do it, and damn it, I was too far away from the board, and I'm in a wheelchair, so I had to, I locked my wheels talking to you, and I forgot to unlock them, and I couldn't reach to change the mute on the, take off the mute on the microphone. It's taken me a while, folks, but I finally got this whole guest thing down. I just recently, we changed the format of Blue Collar Politics because my producer came to me and he goes, "Why don't you interview people?" And I'm like, well, because I got plenty of information to talk about. I really don't need to. And he was like, "No, I really think you should start interviewing people." And I'm like, man, I don't know. So I fought him on it for like 2 months. I just didn't do, I just wasn't going to do it. And then I finally, I was like, all right, I'll try it. So I started with Dave Evans on my Saturday night show when Blue Collar Politics was there. During the it was after the show, during the what we used to call the round table, and I did my first interview with them, and it felt good, and I did one the following week, and then I stopped doing them, and he was like, "Dude, why don't?" I'm like, "Because I don't know how to meet people," and he goes, "Man," he says, "I got a couple people you got to meet." I fought him on it, and you're one of those persons that he said, you just have a conversation with her, you'll be fine. And I was like, oh, well, all right. And then the last week's show where you and Laura Eisenhower were on, My gosh, that was the most fun I've ever had doing blue collar politics. So you and I got cut off. The Facebook shut down, Skype shut down. We couldn't message each other. We couldn't call each other. We couldn't call on the phone. It was ridiculous. I don't even remember how we did eventually. It was after I shut off the show. You were finally able to call me, or I called you on the cell. I forget who called. Let me get my headset on so I can hear.
You called me when I couldn't answer, and then I called you back, and we were finally able to connect after.
But at that point, I'd already lost the show, and then you agreed to come back and do tonight's show, which we just set up this new system, and it is working perfectly so far. And we're still on the air on all the channels. I've got them all up on the other computer. You could probably see here. Let me show my listeners. See, all those screens, they show all the feeds out there. So I'm looking at my feeds the same way you see them when you're watching Blue Collar Politics. So that's the studio I built. I want to know what's going on every minute of my show. I completely do my own feed. No one tells me what I need to talk about. My producer, however, God love him, he's my brother from another mother.
Odin is awesome. Odin and Katie, I love them both. They're both amazing people.
And Odin is angry. Odin, sorry. N, sorry. I get myself stuck in those word predicaments. By the way, I will mention this because I know he's listening. I know he is. He is my number one fan. Both Katie and him. I was so disgusted when I left the first network that I was on. I sold my studio. I was enjoying myself. I had more listeners on my show on the 2 hours I did on a Tuesday night than the main show that came on after me, and it pissed him off, so he chased me off the network. So I'm bringing him in all kinds of money, and then he chases me off. What a dweeb. So I sold my... Go ahead.
Yeah, but look where you are. Look where you are now, and look how good you're doing.
I love it. And it's all thanks to Odin. He's the one that said, hey, Tom, I was doing a Facebook Live just... I miss that feeling of, I've got all this knowledge in my head. I've read the Bible. I've read every Bible, not just, I'm a 1611 King James fan. I love it. But I have an NIV. I have a American Bible. Matter of fact, I have like 13 different Bibles, everything from a Catholic Bible to 4 different King James Bibles. And I have every book that goes with every book that was not in the Bible that was actually supposed to be. And you know what I'm talking about. The 40 books,
yes,
Book of Enoch, the 3 books of Enoch. Yes.
Yep. The lost books of the Bible. Yep.
Oh, yeah. And I've read them all cover to cover. I've studied every single word of it. So I got knowledge. And he's like, why aren't you spreading that knowledge? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel like people are listening. So, but I did a Facebook thingy, and he heard me. And I was like, no way, because we were not connected. So I don't know how he got the fact that I was on the Facebook Live. I don't even know how he knew. I didn't advertise it. I just did it on a whim. And he came back and he's like, dude, you still got it. He said, do it. And I'm like, all right, I've always trusted him. He's never led me wrong. And by the way, Odin, if you're out there, you are more than welcome to call in on this hour. I have no problem with that. So I know you love Jennifer Malik just as much as I do. And I would not deny you that conversation that I know you have a couple of questions. So I know this show's been pretty deep tonight. So we're starting our last hour with a little bit of levity and just giving you a little quick history because between Jennifer Malik and Laura Eisenhower, I will chase down. I've had people call me for interviews now. I'm like, wow. So
That's awesome. That
Yeah.
is so absolutely wonderful to hear that.
I'm proud. I'm people like how I interview, and
And you should be. And you should be, because you're great at it.
well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, normally I ask about kids, but you only have a couple of dogs, right?
What's that?
I said normally I ask about family and kids and all that, but you only have a couple of dogs, right?
No, I don't have any pets.
I thought you had.
I'm-
Oops, sorry.
Nope. Just me, myself, and I.
We'll have to get you a puppy. I like cats, but I'm a cat person.
I'm a cat person. I'm more of a cat person. I love dogs, but I'm more of a cat person.
You know, cats are cool. Cats are cool, and dogs drool. I'm in a wheelchair. I am not having a dog. I could barely stand before I lost my leg, and I'm not being. I went over to a friend of mine's house, a really good friend, and he had 5 Saint Bernards. I spent
Wow.
I spent more time on the floor than I did in a chair. One of them dogs would come over and just brush against me, and then I'd fall over the dog. And the dog just looked at me. I'm like, these things are miniature horses.
I know that they're big, right?
And I was like, dude, 5 dogs. I mean, how much dog food do you go through in a week? I mean, that's a full-time job. You got to have a backhoe to clean up the yard. These are big dogs. So,
Yeah, they are.
all right, so let's get back. What have we not talked about that you do that you would like to mention?
I think we've talked about all of it, actually.
We have talked about it a lot.
We have. We've gone down some different rabbit holes this evening, that's for sure.
All right. Well, then I'll take and go to the next subject. Let's talk about Enoch. Because Enoch was, all right, the word means teacher. So there are some questions about the original Enoch on who wrote it. Now, there's not for me. I don't have the question. I know who Enoch is, and we are talking about one specific teacher that wrote all 3 books of Enoch. Now, he describes 2 different flying saucers as if, you know, like you and I are just sitting here talking about things going on, completely normal, describes them to a T. I mean, recreatable explanation to the measurement, and describes the landing pad. Now, my question is, with your ability, do you ever think, or have you ever tried to figure out where some of this stuff happened? Because Enoch was BC.
Yeah.
He was 458 years old when God says, I want to walk with you every day, and he took him from this earth. Enoch went to heaven without dying. There's only been 2 people in the world that has happened to. God loved them so much that he brought them up to heaven without them dying first. And I believe that those 2 are the 2, what do you want to call them? I forget what they call them in the book of Revelations. The messengers that come back at the end of time to preach about God in the end times. I'm sure you know my reference.
Yes, I do, and I look at it the same way you do, and I also feel the same way you do with that subject. And also, when you talk about UFOs, and it's crazy when that comes up, because you never think that most people would never think that you would hear UFOs or ETs discussed, even in the Bible. And but if you look at history, the history of humans as a whole, UFOs has been cited for as long as we've been around. There are countless paintings.
Oh, they're in
artifacts.
They're in every painting from Jesus' time till 1800s, when we stopped painting things.
Yeah, and they all have some form of UFO or extraterrestrial craft in them.
Yep.
And it's like people used to describe them. Okay, I'm going to a reference here, because there is a really good book out, and I'm sure I'm sure a lot of the listeners out there have heard of it, Chariot of the Gods.
Yes.
By Von Doniken. And he has different accounts of different people from different times witnessing people flying out of the sky and landing on Earth. And the way he would describe some of these as just not beings of light, or
they were called Vimanas.
Yes, thank you. And he would describe them in detail, what they looked like, and to what some of these things looked like. And it's just one of those absolutely amazing things when you go back, because a lot of people don't think about that.
Now, let me make a quick reference about this man, because this gentleman, although that first book was awesome and accurate, I do not like his last two books. I do not like some of the references he makes in the end, which are not in line with my research and not in line with. I think he sold out.
I haven't read his last two books. I've only read that book, because that's like, out of all the books he has, when it comes to that subject, the go-to book of his will always be that book for anybody interested in this kind of research.
David Stykes backed him up on it, and every time either one of them are on TV, they both back up each other. When they were talking about the Vimanas and talking about the Book of Enoch, and I was studying the Book of Enoch about the same time Chariots of the Gods came out. And I got my copy of it, and I read it, and it opened up my eyes a whole lot, because then it gave me specific areas for me that I could go research. And because what's that? There's an old saying, is believe or trust but verify. Mm-hmm. And I'm a firm believer in it. You do not take anybody for their word, because let me tell you, if you make a circle of people, 10 people, hell, we could do it with 5 people, and you whisper a story into the first person's ear, by the time that story gets back around, none of the original story exists.
Right.
So, but there are people in this world that for their entire lifetime, they would write transcript after transcript with a pen, and that was all they did. That was their job. Now, those people did not mess up the story. Not a single word. Every word was identical on every single piece of, I think it was papaya, right, back then?
Yeah, it was papyrus, right.
And they were the original I guess you would say they were the original publishers. Because they rewrote the Bible again and again, and we found, finally, after years and years of searching, they finally found all of the books of Bible. What the heck is... Alright, that was weird.
What's that?
Felt like something was hitting me in the head, and I'm looking up and I'm grabbing, and there was nothing above me. It was weird.
Did it feel like cobwebs?
Yeah. Why? What's that
Yeah,
mean?
usually that's an indicator of a spirit around you. So it could be a family member that's passed away that's checking up on you. Because I've gotten that too.
It would probably be my dad, because he's a jokester. He always had, between him and my Uncle Don, they're always cracking a joke on somebody or somebody, something, or playing some practical joke or something like that. And I've always believed that my dad has looked over me and watched over me throughout my life and helped guided me on decisions. Because right now my business is doing really good. We're getting lots of new work, and it's happening at a very tough time in my life because now I'm in a wheelchair. I'll eventually be back up on a leg. I'll get a prosthetic, but you don't get one for a while right after surgery. So it's been, 2.5 months or so since my surgery, and my leg's having a little trouble healing, but I kind of bring that on myself. I eat really good, but I will admit I like my treats. And all right, now this is weird.
I do the same thing. I'm the same way. I'm healthy, but at the same time, I have, certain stints where I love my junk food.
Yeah. Yes, I do love my junk food. And I'm kind of a stickler. I'm a Reese treat. I like the Reese's peanut butter cups.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I'm really bad with the Reese's peanut butter cups. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one I've been in lately has been the what are they called? The colorful ones, the nerds that eat the big ones.
The M&M.
No, they're crunchy and chewy, and they're like it's nerds candy. I forget what it's called, but
I don't know. For me, it's either peanut butter cups or Hershey bars.
oh, those. See, now I love Special Dark, and being diabetic, that's actually the chocolate I'm supposed to be eating. So
Yeah, well, Special Dark, that's why I don't eat the regular milk chocolate too, because of my because I have fibromyalgia. And so dark chocolate actually helps me out with my fibro. So yeah, between peanut butter cups and dark chocolate, oh yeah.
Yeah, Hershey Special Dark, man, they hit that one right on the head.
They totally did.
That was a rabbit hole that I didn't expect. All right, now we're professing our love of candy. That, and I have to I'll say this, vanilla bean ice cream.
Vanilla bean's okay.
I don't like any other flavor. Occasionally I'd like mint chocolate chip, but it's a vanilla. I'm a vanilla kind of guy. Vanilla milkshake.
No, mine's got to be cookie dough.
Oh, see, now that's a good one, especially from Dairy Queen. They do a really good job with cookie dough, but no, I liked that a lot when it first came out, and after wolfing so many down, I got sick of it, and I just haven't had one since. And they came out with the cotton candy milkshake, and that thing I spent way too much of my paycheck on, and they were expensive. They're like $7 for a 22-ounce shake. So
they're not.
It's a complete ripoff, but they taste so good you can't help it. So I kind of swore them off and just I stick with my vanilla. It's usually the cheaper flavor, and you can get some pretty good strong vanilla in there. So yeah, I kind of like that, and especially when you put the Reese's peanut butter cups in the refrigerator and then have a bowl of ice cream while you're eating Reese's peanut butter cups. That just total was.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm hungry. And I still
talking about food now.
I know. And I still cannot think of, oh my, I studied these things and I can't remember what were the scripts that they found out in the desert that matched it matched the Bible word for word. I can't think of the name of them. I mean, they're completely famous. They're down in the Vatican in their...
The Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yes.
The Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yes, the Dead Sea Scrolls. All but one book was there. All of them. Including Enoch. So anybody that thinks Enoch doesn't belong in, and you know why they left it out of the Bible? Because Enoch stands for teacher, and they didn't think it would they thought it would confuse the readers, that they wouldn't understand which Enoch they were talking about. Because his name, I mean, that would suck being born with the name teacher.
Yeah. Or prophet.
Yeah, that's another one. That would not be... And I know a guy with the name Prophet. What were your parents thinking? I mean, that's just... I mean, you have to live up to something that's literally sacred.
Yeah.
But Enoch did. And he... it proves that we have dealt with... And it's not against the Bible. The Bible only specifies that we are God's creation and we are only here on earth. That does...
There's a saying that my late husband and I used to say, and I will say this until my last day on earth here: we are spiritual beings having a human existence.
Yes.
We're here to learn.
And learn I have. I mean, we could go and probably have a 3-hour show on every book in the Bible.
Well, you could try. I think it would take more than 1 3-hour show because there's so much to cover per book, yeah.
No, I would say 1 book, 1 show. It would take, 90 shows?
Yeah, you would literally have to do a series, right?
And there is, oh crap, now I can't remember his name. I apologize, folks. I will put all this information in the, after it posts on YouTube, I will get it in the comments in the bottom part of the video. I'll get it all posted on my brain farts that I can't think, because as soon as I end the show, I remember it all. But during the show, I don't know, it's something about me being on the air. I just draw blanks left and right. And I know this stuff. I've had millions of conversations about it. Like in Genesis, when, God comes down and he comes down into the tent where only, was it Moses? Was it Moses or was it, who is that sat and talked with God in the tabernacle tent?
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, I'm having a brain fart.
Was it Moses? They were walking around the desert for 40 years and dragging that tent with them and dragging the Ark of the Covenant. Well, I shouldn't say dragging, but damn, that thing's heavy. The Ark of the Covenant around, and they had to set up that tent and the surrounding and the tent walls without the roof. It was like a fence that had to go around it, because if you were to peer in and just crack that tent a little bit to try to sneak a peek at God, you'd be blinded instantly.
Yeah.
His light is so strong, it's on the same level as, he's the ultimate spiritual being, and his being is so powerful that unless you are protected, you cannot be in the same room, and I mean nuclear protection. Um, they, I hate bringing up an Indiana Jones movie, but the Germans found out when they took the lid off, they were all wiped out, and it was from God's light that is in there. I mean, if you think about it, there is the Ten Commandments. The two stones are supposed to be, well, the remnants of the two stones, because God broke them up. But the pieces of the Ten Commandments are in the Ark of the Covenant. And it's supposed to be in Ethiopia right now. At least that was the last place it was traced to. It was last year, the Jewish people were digging under the Temple Mount, which I kind of disagree with. I don't think the Temple Mount is where God's temple was. I just don't see him, being that flashy. That's not what God's about. And they think they found David's River of Life, which is away from the temple, and they were able to locate some ground deformities with ground penetrating radar. Another place where they think, now it's in the city of David, it's in the correct place, so nothing is out of the ordinary. The Temple Mount was built by the Romans, so the temple couldn't have been there because the Romans came in after, and built the Temple Mount. That was a military barracks for the Romans, so God's temple could not have been up on the Temple Mount. It was in the city of David, and it was on the ground floor. God doesn't need a big giant mount to put his temple. It just seems too flashy to me that it would be there. It would be, I think, northwest from there, maybe like 200 yards away. But it was, they do believe they found the original fountain that came out to create the little river. And after they tore down a house, they were going to build a new house there, and this guy had been doing research and calculations, and he figured out that that's where it was. And when they tore down this house, this fountain came back to life and poured just like it said it did in the Bible. And so that kind of tells you, because the river of life was inside the temple.
Yeah, it was. And I think, they have an idea of where they think it is, but, I'm kind of one of those that thinks maybe you should start looking in areas you never really thought twice about looking.
Well, that's what this gentleman did. He looked where he followed the Bible. To me, the Bible is a book of facts. It may have been written by man, but it was written with the help of angels. And I believe the angel would take possession of the man because he would allow it. Then the book would be written, and then the angel would leave, and he'd be fine. Because you can have a good possession. You can allow one of God's angels to come in.
I think with that sounds more to me like channeling.
Okay, it could be. Instead of, I guess, to call it.
Right. It's basically when you give spirit, whether it's a human or an angelic being or what have you, permission to inhabit your body, to bring forth information, to channel information. It's like one of my favorite psychics ever. And I have every single book this man has ever wrote. Edgar Cayce.
Oh, here.
Okay.
One of the most accurate psychics, proven time and time again ever on this earth.
He was an open channel. functioned at such a high rate of positive vibrational frequency, because one of the things that he was able to do was to let go of the human ego. He was able to push his ego aside and let the information come through. And he put out so much information as a result of that channeling. That's why when you were describing that to me, it sounds more like channeling.
I think you're right there. I've done all my research. I've done on my own, so I'm not dead on every single time. I may miss by a little bit, but I got the general gist of the idea, and it gives you, the more you read and the more, I'm a witness to this. The more you read the Bible and the more you study the Bible, the more you'll see when you read it. The more you'll understand when you read it. It also, I would get these weird things to reference one of the lost books of the Bible book while I'm studying a verse, or, I did that a lot when I was studying Matthew. That's a heavy book. Just like Revelations. If you've not had preparation and you've not studied, and I mean years worth of studying, don't read Revelations. You'll misinterpret it, and that is not a good thing. That is not a book to be taken lightly. I know a lot of churches and religious places won't touch it. They say it's too complicated. It's all innuendo and that, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's still facts. When God talks about the 7 churches and each church did a different sin, they have found all 7 of those churches, the actual church. And when the churches were destroyed in the book of Revelations, that's how they sit when they found them. One was burned, one was brought down by, I don't know if you'd call it a F5 tornado, or, God taking his fist and ramming it down in there, but it was nothing but blocks. But they found the church. They found the name. They found everything. Everything in the Bible, almost everything at this date, has been verified. The important facts. Everything has been found. They found the rock that Moses broke in half. Remember, from the anger, and water gushed forth, not like it was supposed to, but because he did it in anger, and he was not supposed to do it in anger. But they found the rock that split. It's in Pakistan somewhere, and this family went in and found it, and then was persecuted for finding it, and then they went in military, took it over, cordoned it off, and now nobody can get close to it. And that's not right, because
but that's nothing new though. Like, anything that we feel that we have the right to know about, with, like, especially of world history, a lot of that is intentionally being kept from all of us.
All of our history. We are the dumbest. We are the dumbest people out there. Those who do not understand your past are doomed to repeat it. And we have nothing but politicians and these rich-ass mother that are doing nothing but hiding and keeping our own history from us. We do not understand anything. And I have been searching because I absolutely believe in all of my research that we are the 7th attempt that God made in making man. And a lot of that history we will never know, and I don't think it's right. I think all of these libraries that have been destroyed throughout the years, when they went in and sacked the Library of Rome, one of the most complete library. What was it called? The Parthenon.
The Library of Alexandria.
Yes, one of the most complete, talked about history to 2,000 or 200,000 years before.
Yeah.
And they just
and they were all on tablets. And if you do a Google search, you can find emerald tablets. If you're not familiar with that, research emerald tablets because they originated from the Library of Alexandria.
Well, you know me, I'm going there. I'm going to go check it out and see
There's
what I
so
can.
much information with these tablets. It's fascinating.
Oh, okay, here we go. The complete emerald tablet of Thoth, or Toth, because the H is silent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a 5-hour video, so I'm going to enjoy that. That's going to take a while, and hopefully it is up there and not been distorted. I won't know. I'll have to do a lot of research on it. That's a long video to be doing research on
definitely.
it.
When you get the time, seriously, delve into the emerald tablets, and you will be amazed at what you find on the emerald tablets.
I know some of it was saved from there, but I mean, 90% of it was lost forever.
Yeah, intentionally too.
Yeah. And, so we have been having our history ripped from us long before we've been alive.
Yeah.
This
and
is
it's going to continue to happen.
Yeah. Do you think we'll ever figure out, or maybe we'll figure it out when we die, all of our history? I would love to know it.
I think that all the answers we're seeking here, we will find when it is our time to pass away and cross over. That's when I think we get all the answers. That's what I firmly believe. And it's kind of like with the whole aliens, UFOs, ETs. People are expecting the government to come out and give full disclosure. They're not going to give us full disclosure. They've been keeping a lid on this stuff for decades. The only way we're going to get disclosure is amongst ourselves.
Right. Damn it. Sorry. Someone does not realize, and I've told them I don't know how many times, not on Tuesday, I am on the air. And I have tried to shut off the sounds to that stupid dinger, and I hate it. And then I'll say I'm on the air, and they'll go, "What air?" You idiot. I mean, it's only plastered all over my Facebook page. Try reading my Facebook page for once. I think I topped the charts with the poster that I made for you tonight. I think we have had an awesome conversation.
This was a wonderful conversation. This was such a deep conversation. I haven't had this much of a deep conversation since my husband passed, since before my husband passed away.
Well, then I feel honored.
And I am equally honored to have been able to be a part of the show tonight because I really enjoyed the conversation. And it's just so nice and so refreshing to just sit there and have deep conversations like that.
Honestly, I have not had, as deep as we went tonight, I have not had a deep conversation like that since, it's been 4 or 5 years myself. I love talking. You get me started on the Bible, and I'll talk all night about it. I mean, there's just so much in there that is ringing true. And the farther we get and the more the scientists try to disprove it, all they do is end up proving it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, but you know what's going to come next? You know, over in Israel, they've got the red cows for their sacrifice, and they're still. It's like they're stuck. I'm sorry, but you know what I told you right before I typed that, right? I said I'm on the air, and they'll say, "What do you mean?" Well, guess what? Yes, what do you mean? All right, well, you can hang on for 12 minutes because I am going to finish here, and then I will explain to you what I mean by that. But, okay, where was... Oh, the last thing I was saying was Israel. They're preparing for... They still think Jesus hasn't come. And that's why they're in trouble with God right now, because they missed him the first time he was crucified, he saved their souls, and he went back to heaven, and they didn't catch it. And he told them beforehand, I'm coming to you riding on a donkey. And that's exactly how he rode into Israel, and they completely blew it. So now they're preparing for the Old Testament sacrifices and all that, and that's not necessary anymore. When Jesus died on the cross to save our souls, that's it. He did all the work for us. He made it so easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it is an effort to live morally straight in this day and age, but...
So, especially with the times we're living in now, I mean, if you look at, like, especially with the current situation going on, like, even before this most recent thing in virus, look at all those plagues we heard about with, like, the locusts and the birds. I mean, you touch on Revelation, you look at a lot of this stuff going on, it's so eerily similar to what they're speaking of in Revelation.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly, I really thought it was going to start. And, you know, we don't have time to get into it now because you need to go in about 10 minutes and I need about 5 minutes so I can close the show. So we got about 5 minutes left. I would like to go into it deeper with you. We haven't even begun to touch on that subject. But I never really did get to ask my question. I kind of hit on it earlier and then didn't. Do you believe that dragons really existed?
I think at some point in time, yes, I think they did.
I think when the dinosaurs walked the earth, we had dragons.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they were even talking about dragons during the Renaissance period.
Right.
You know, it's like, I think and I'll just say this really quick, if you look at examples like Bigfoot and Dogmen,
Yeah.
they're real.
Yeah, we didn't even get a
there's
chance to go into there, and that has to do with the missing people. That explains very easy.
Well, Bigfoot and Dogmen would be a whole nother 3-hour show.
Yeah.
Because there's so much on them. But the point I was making, there are so many things out there that are just now starting to be discovered or rediscovered.
Yeah. And
So
that,
you really can't rule anything out.
yeah, that goes right back into if our history wasn't kept from us, we'd already know these things.
If our history wasn't kept from us, we wouldn't be programmed, we wouldn't be conditioned, we wouldn't be spoon-fed with the stuff we've been fed, and we would be very highly vibrational, spiritual beings. We'd be a lot more awake, that's for sure.
So please do not take anything you hear as gospel. Do your own research. Check. It's not that hard to check it out and find the truth. And speaking of truth, well, I don't want to take away from your last 3 minutes, so I'll hold that comment till after 2:55, and we will give you the last 3 minutes for anything you'd like to say, any if you allow people to get a hold of you, any websites, Facebook, and I believe you just have your Facebook site, correct?
Yeah, and you can find me at Jennifer Malik on Facebook. I have my like page, which is Jennifer Malik, Psychic Medium. You can also find the Society like page, Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited. We also have a group called Lake Monstrosities. It is the largest aquatic mystery group out there. And we also have Ultimate Conspiracies. And we also have another group called Canine Cryptids.
That one sounds interesting.
We also have Paraversal Universe Paratoons, where they're just paranormal cartoons. We have Paraversal Universe Radio, which is our main radio light page, and then we have Paraversal Universe Radio Archives, where you can actually hear interviews that me and my husband have done.
I have that page bookmarked. Since we've talked, I haven't had a chance to get there, but I most definitely will get there. I've heard a lot of good about what Kevin has said, and yourself. So.
Yeah, oh, he was amazing. He was wonderful at what he did. He was basically one of God's warriors as far as I'm concerned, because he helped so many people the world over. It's just amazing.
Yeah. It's a shame that he was taken from us.
Yeah, he was, and he is very much and very sorely missed, but he will always be remembered. And
Gone but not forgotten.
Exactly.
I understand that. I lost my dad when I was very young, and, we need our dads and for guidance in this world. All right, well, I know you have to go because you have another phone call that you have to take at 10 o'clock, and you are in the mid-time zone, so that's why she's still here at 11. So she's going to go back in time and have a phone call. So,
yeah, and I would like to say really quickly, too, in honor of my late husband, Kevin, if it were not for him, this interview would not be happening, because he was the one that supported me and being a co-host with him, and he was basically my reason for doing radio in the first place.
well, I'm hoping I will get to thank him one day. I know
I'm sure you will.
that death is only the beginning, so I have no doubt that I will get to talk to him firsthand here one day. So I want to thank you for coming on Blue Collar Politics. I hope we can have you back real soon. We maybe even will go into Dogmen and Bigfoot on a show, and who knows where that'll go for that rabbit hole, because I can tell you times that I've seen. I do a lot of camping, and I'm a survival teacher, so I spend a lot of time out in the woods. I haven't lately, but I'm hoping to get back out there real soon. And you have a wonderful evening, and I want to thank you again for coming on Blue Collar Politics here at the Global Enlightenment Radio Network, and we hope to have you on real soon.
Oh, it sounds good. I would not mind coming back. And I want to thank everybody out there for listening, and, of course, to Daryl and Katie, I really appreciate it. And it was such an honor to be on. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful night.
All right. You have a wonderful night yourself, and I will talk to you later.
Sounds good.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. All right. I heard the click in my head. All right. Well, that was Jennifer Malik, and that was a quite interesting 3 hours. I hope you enjoyed it. It'll be posted up on YouTube as a complete show. Plus, it will also be broken down into 3 individual hour shows. So that way, we tried to keep the subjects separate on the different hours. We're trying a new format here, so that way, if you didn't catch a show and you only have time for an hour, that way you can listen to a show and you don't lose track of where you're at. So hopefully we'll be doing them all this way from here on out, and we got many more wonderful guests to come on in the future, and I have a wonderful week. We will see you next Tuesday on Blue Collar Politics on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. And we always keep all our archives up. You can go to www.bluecollarpolitics.org, and all of the original Blue Collar Politics from the other network is there, and all of my shows from Global Enlightenment Radio Network are posted on YouTube, and we will soon have them up on the page. That takes a long time to do, to get them up there, so we'll probably do them 1 year at a time and put them up on the page so you can listen to them anytime you want. You can also go to bluecollarpolitics.org and listen to us as a radio thing. Just click the play button on your favorite player, and it will play the show as we're doing it live, or for that matter, any of the 24 hours and the other wonderful shows that GERN has on their network. You can listen to all of them too, and it'll show you which show's on and how far it's through it. So hopefully you'll get a chance to check it out. And, well, I got a lot of thinking to do, and I hope you do too. But this is Thomas Fry, the Biblical Survivalist, signing off for this edition of Blue Collar Politics.
Does the nonsense you see on the news depress you? There on the TV set is nothing but feel-good fake shows with no way of getting good content programming? Then you need to come and listen to us, and we will tell you the truth. Blue Collar Politics, where the awake come to hear the real news. You are listening to the Saturday night edition of Blue Collar Politics on the Global Enlightenment Radio Network with your host, the Biblical Survivalist,